Bills owner Terry Pegula and GM Brandon Beane met with the media Wednesday for the first time since Sean McDermott was fired, and Beane added president of football operations to his title. The duo covered many topics, including the lack of high-quality receivers, including their 2024 second-rounder Keon Coleman.
How do you answer the fact that you have not given Josh a good enough wide receiver room?
Yeah,
Can I interrupt? I'll address the Keon situation. The coaching staff pushed to draft Keon. I'm not saying Brandon wouldn't have drafted him, but he wasn't his next choice. That was Brandon being a team player and taking advice of his coaching staff, who felt strongly about the player. And, he's taken, for some reason, heat over it and not saying a word about it. But I'm here to tell you the true story. I did not fire a coach based on a bad officiating decision. If I can take you into that locker room, I felt like we hit the proverbial playoff wall.
The perception from the fan base out there is that this was some kind of power play made by you to still be here in Shawtown.
People can disagree with draft picks that I make or people I sign or I screwed up the wide receivers, whatever it is. Like, those are harmful things that, I walk in the door and my wife's got tears coming down her face for stuff like that. I'm going to damn try hard to win a Super Bowl here. I am. But for somebody to question my character like that, it is BS. And I've never done that. My character, my integrity, that's where I draw the line.
I realized as I'm watching those clips on Wednesday that we haven't really heard from Luke Willson about, first of all, what he thought of McDermott firing, and then those clips we just witnessed from Terry Pegula and Brandon Beane. So, Luke, first of all, what did you make of everything that you saw on Wednesday?
Jay, first off, it's a very emotional press conference. You saw that. You saw the frustration from the owner. I get that there's a shock value if you're a fan. But let's take that out and let's listen to what actually happened. Let's digest it. Okay, what I saw as a player is an owner that really cares, an owner that wants to win. And first and foremost, that is a great thing. I implore Bills fans to go back to the early 2000s and look at their record before Terry Pegula bought this team in 2014. Terry Pegula has done nothing but try and win here. There's something to be said about that. And now we want to talk about the Keon Coleman. That's the thing everyone's talking about. Oh, how can he say that? How can he say that? Well, first and foremost, what does it matter if he says it in front of the camera or not? This is a guy who gave Keon Coleman 4 years over $10 million. He had over a $4 million signing bonus, and Keon Coleman was a healthy scratch this year due to what was cited as maturity issues. Jay, I have no idea what it's like to sign someone for a $10 million contract. But I can promise you, if I did have an idea, Jay, I would be extremely annoyed if he was a healthy scratch due to, and again, I quote, maturity issues. And the idea that all of a sudden, the owner is covering for the GM. Does this man strike you as someone who wants to lose after watching that press conference? He's in the meetings. He's in the draft room. He's in the war room. If he felt like Brandon Beane gave them a bad shot or made things worse, he wouldn't be there. So as much as from the outside looking in, we don't know. The owner knows what is going down. So again, I get there's a shock value to it. And then the next thing I'll say, and I'll end my rant on this, Jay, is the idea that guys are just ready to be all pros or Pro Bowlers coming out of college. Half the battle is picking the right players, and that's not just talent. That's your attitude. That's your work ethic. That is only half the battle. The other half is once you get in the building, having coaches, having schemes, having situations, where these guys can develop. So once again, the idea that this is all Brandon Beane's fault because of lack of development, I don't think is fair. So again, I'm not trying to chill for this guy, Brandon Beane, but Terry Pegula is the owner of this team. He's the one seeing it all work. His track record is pretty outstanding since 2014 when he purchased this team. I think if you're a Bills fan, you've got to trust this guy. Give him a shot to find the right head coach.
Did you, Luke, when you first heard of the McDermott firing, agree with the firing, or did you disagree with it?
So I first disagreed, but again, I didn't have all of the information.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to that moment in the draft room, Jay. Those things happen across every team. The front office has their guys. They have their area scout. They have their, individual scouting guy, their national college scout. And they all say, hey, here's our favorites. They give a list to the coaches, and the coaches then go through that. And there are oftentimes, it's common, where guys will come and they will argue, well, your list has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I think your number 3 guy is actually my number 1. And it's a bit of a give and take between front office and coaches on who to pick. That is not an uncommon situation. But the problem is, if you're the guy who wins that argument and gets your pick, you better make it work if you are a coach. So again, I was surprised by the Sean McDermott firing, but after listening to the owner say what he said, I believe him. I think this guy wants to win, and beyond the shock value, the frustration, the emotion, these are great things for me. And the last thing I'll say here, Jay, for all you Buffalo Bills fans, this is the National Football League. This is not your run-at-the-mill office where you're not allowed to say mean things. Mean things are said. If Keon Coleman's upset by what happened today, guess what? He'll have an opportunity this offseason to get his mind right, get his body right, and come into offseason, OTAs in camp, and right all of those wrongs. It's the National Football League. I'm sorry, Jay. Feelings don't really matter in this league. They haven't for a very long time. What you saw today is the reality of what this league is all about. And quite frankly, I loved it. I really did.
I could tell you loved it. And I want to move on and talk about who might be next for this Bills team, Luke, because you've got Josh Allen. You still have an extremely talented roster. When McDermott was first fired, everyone said, well, this is the best job available, clearly. But the fact that Brandon Beane has been elevated and obviously is super close with the owner, do you feel that's going to change how attractive this job is, Luke? Right now, Brian Daboll, the former offensive coordinator of the team, is the favorite to coach this team, according to FanDuel.
I think it's, again, almost more attractive. Again, if you peel through the shock value to me, what that whole press conference says is they want to win. They want to win right now. Super Bowl winning is the goal. Not win the AFC Championship, not kind of make it, not get, a wild card spot. The owner and the GM are fired up, and they want a guy that's going to come in here and take them over the hump. And I think it's an unbelievable situation because Bills fans, I think, will all agree they are 1 to 2 pieces away in some good football being played from being the best team in the AFC. They're not that far away. This is a great job. They got to make sure they get the right guy in here to get them over this hump and finally get them to win a Super Bowl.
When you hear the name Daboll, does that make sense to you, Luke? A guy who knows the environment, who had success when he was in Buffalo. And you and I always talk about head coaches getting their first job and it never working out and sort of it working out better in a second job. Does Daboll make sense to you?
It makes sense. Obviously, you have to ask Josh, hey, how was that relationship? We all think It went really well and they all got along. So that's my first question there. I do worry, though, because you look at New York, that was a very poor operation at many times. It kind of ended for me when I saw Daboll running into the concussion tent to try and get his quarterback there. So I'm not the biggest Brian Daboll guy at this moment. But again, I really feel like this owner is on a warpath to find a way to win a Super Bowl. I love the competitiveness. So if he feels that Daboll's their best answer, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt right now. I really am, Jay. I love the emotion this guy shows. I love the frustration, and I think he's going to make a very great decision.
Okay, well, speaking of owners, let's talk about Jody Allen's Seattle Seahawks. Let's get into the conference championship games, buddy. Final 4 set. Sam Darnold still nursing that oblique injury. Seahawks coach Mike Macdonald confirmed his quarterback will not practice in full this week, but that's not something that's bothering Darnold. He is set to make his first appearance in a conference championship game.
Whatever happens, happens. You know, if something, tragic happens and I, go down and, can't get up or, then it is what it is. And, Drew, Jalen, they're ready to go, but obviously, hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, I'm ready to, attack everything and be ready for anything.
Seattle has just one loss in its last 13 games. Their only loss in that stretch came against their opponents this Sunday, the LA Rams. But Mike McDonald looked at that through an optimistic lens.
When I'm thinking of that game, I'm thinking of, hey, got punched in the mouth early, and then our guys regrouped, and we kind of put ourselves back in a position to go win the game defensively. So there's positives and things you want to grow from that game for sure.
The game is in Seattle. You know the 12s will be rocking. The Seahawks are the favorites. But, Luke, they're without Zach Charbonnet. He is done for the season with a torn ACL. You always talk about how important that two-headed running back monster is with Kenneth Walker. So what, in your opinion, knowing this injury situation, what is the key for Seattle to win this game on Sunday?
Jay, the key is protect the football, protect the football, protect the football. And when you're done protecting the football, protect the football. Listen, this game, it's going to come down to that turnover margin. You have a phenomenal offense in LA. Matthew Stafford is going to have his hands full with this defense, but if there's a guy who can find a way to score on it, it's him. And he has done that this year. His numbers against Seattle last time they played were unbelievable. On the flip side, you saw the second. I'm going back to the game where Seattle won 38-37 in overtime. Sam Darnold really found magic late in that game, in the fourth quarter, in overtime. He's obviously looked great when called upon. So I think Sam will be fine. I worry if you go back to that last game, Seattle was sloppy with the ball, and they were very, very, very fortunate to win this game. So if that happens again, I don't think there's another rabbit they can pull out of the hat. And that rabbit was a missed field goal from LA, the crazy 2-point conversion, the punt return by Shaheed. Like, they need to play clean football. I understand they've dominated San Fran the last couple weeks, last week of the season, and obviously last week in the playoffs. This is not San Fran. It's simply not. This team's going to be hungry. It's a very, very well-coached team. Both sides, I would say. This is going to be a showdown, and I would argue, I'll tell you right now, for me personally, whoever wins this game is going to be my favorite in the Super Bowl.
Okay, well, that's not good news for the AFC as we check in on that AFC Championship matchup between the Broncos and the New England Patriots. Broncos will host the game. Denver without starting quarterback Bo Nix, who suffered a season-ending ankle injury last Saturday, against the Bills. Jarrett Stidham starts at quarterback, taking on the team that drafted him in 2019.
This is not about myself. First of all, I want to obviously, my thoughts and prayers have been with Bo since Saturday night. I mean, it's crushing because he's one of my best friends. But really, just fired up for the opportunity for these guys in this locker room, and we're looking forward to Sunday and getting out there and seeing what we got.
We'll have to be prepared for the plan and the things that they've shown. I'm sure there'll be some things that they haven't shown. He's more than capable. To go out there and operate. And it's why he's a backup and one that was coveted around the league.
He's got this calm demeanor that I think suits him well. He's played in big games, college, and I said this at the start of the season. I felt like our two was inside the best 32.
Luke, you've had a few days to digest the Bo Nix news. We know the Broncos have a great defense, one of the best in the NFL. We know the altitude gives the Broncos a home field advantage every time. But I like Jarrett Stidham. I like his attitude, and I like what Sean Payton said about him. But do you believe Jarrett Stidham can get it done on Sunday?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I do, Jay. Now, will he? That's another question. But can he? Absolutely. And I'll say this right now. Everyone's kind of, tossing this game aside like it's a gimme. This game is going to be tremendously close, in my opinion. This is a great matchup, and I will say this first. This is not a knock against Bo Nix. This is just facts. You go back to this season. Bo Nix in QBR was 15th. In passer rating, he was 26th. He did not have an MVP-type season. They have not lost a Patrick Mahomes, a Joe Burrow, a Josh Allen. They have lost a guy that has been tremendous in the fourth quarter. He had some unbelievable fourth quarters, which clearly matters. That being said, even going back to last week, a lot of the touchdowns against the Bills were schematically genius plays. Sean Payton is an offensive mastermind. He will have this guy ready to go. He's going to come out here and find a way to score points. Will it be a ton of points? I don't think they need a ton of points, because on the flip side, as much as the Bills beat this defense up, a lot of that was because they pushed them around in the run game. We forget here that as a unit, the Denver Broncos are the best pass rush in the league by far. What happened last week to the Patriots? Struggled to protect the quarterback. The Patriots do have a good run offense, but it is nowhere near the Buffalo Bills. So that, to me, is another key matchup. If Denver can stop or slow down New England's run game and start feasting and pinning their ears back, Stidham might only need to score 24 points. There's a really fascinating chess match. I actually am fired up for this thing. I think it's going to be wildly, wildly close. It's two very, very well-coached teams. Again, Jay, I'm not even trying to pump its tires. I'm excited to see Stidham play. I'm excited to see the chess match. I cannot wait to watch how this one unfolds.
Dude, that was like the best promo for a game on this network I've ever heard.
I'm just being serious. I'm being serious.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you on Sunday. You're going to be joining us after Rams-Seahawks for our show. So we'll see you then, pal. Until then, rest up, okay?
Can't wait.
All right, don't forget, as I mentioned, we've got both these games on TSN on Sunday. Both of them, noon, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific. Patriots-Broncos, New England favored by 4.5 points. Then the NFC West grudge match between the Rams and Seahawks at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. This one's going to be a great game. And after it's over, join us for SportsCenter with Jay Onrait, brought to you by Harvey's, as we break it all down.